Hello again, and welcome back to Journey of Self-Awareness, your YouTube channel for personal growth and self-exploration. I'm your host, Taro-san Harmon, and today I want to continue this little series that I've been working on about spiritual practices. I've already have 4 or 5 videos out now, and so we want to continue this discussion. And you'll remember that I mentioned before that I won't plan to cover rather broad genres or categories of like larger types of spiritual practices. And today I want to talk about devotional practices, but I think I should mention that these genres or types of spiritual practices, there's a lot of overlap, and they're not neat, exclusive categories. So you'll have to bear with me and realize that many of these practices overlap. They'll fit into more than one genre, for example, and some genres may contain multiple spiritual practices that are in common. And of course, they're all mutually reinforcing and supportive of one another, which is something that we'll talk about a bit later. So, devotional practices today is today's topic. And what is a devotional practice? Well, a devotional practice is a spiritual activity, or it could be a ritual that's performed with the intent of expressing love, reverence, and sense of commitment to a higher power, to a sacred principle perhaps, or even a spiritual ideal. Of course, all these are aspects of the divine, and devotional practices are often centered on cultivating a deep personal connection to the divine, or we might think of it as a connection with something transcendent, a higher power, if you will, from AA, of course. They involve such things as prayer. In the spiritual tradition, it might be contemplative prayer, meditation, ritual offerings are a devotional practice, singing hymns, chanting the name of God, or just chanting. There's many forms of devotional practices and forms of worship that could fall into this category. But they all share in common one thing, and that is devotional practices help us foster a deeper connection to the divine. And they help us express gratitude, to seek guidance from the divine, to cultivate a sense of peace and inner harmony. Of course, devotional practices serve a variety of purposes. For example, we may express gratitude for the blessings that we've received, or to acknowledge goodness and goodwill in the world. Or devotional practices can help us cultivate a sense of reverence and awe for the divine. They help us deepen our faith, and they help us feel a sense of connection with a higher power or even a divine being, such as a personal deity. Many spiritual practices have, from various traditions, have developed a reverence for a personal deity. Jesus, for example, could be a personal deity, or in Catholicism it might be the Mother Mary. And in Tibetan Buddhism, of course, there are very many deities. Hinduism is rife with probably dozens of different gods, maybe even hundreds. As we learn to put our faith in the divine and trust in what is and what is unfolding, we learn that everything is going to be okay. And you'll find that devotional practices over time can help reduce stress, anxiety, and the preponderance of negative emotions in our lives will naturally decline and decrease in frequency, and the severity of our negative emotional reactions also tend to diminish as we engage in regular spiritual practice. However, the primary purpose of devotional practices are to open our hearts and foster a profound connection with the divine and create a sense of harmony with our higher selves, with our higher intentions and our motives. And of course, these practices help us cultivate the positive virtues like kindness, love, compassion, surrender, and humility. Of course, there are many kinds of devotional practices, including prayer and meditation, as I mentioned, chanting, ritual offerings, and even devotional acts of selfless service to others. In Tibetan Buddhism, people take refuge in the three jewels or the three gems, which is a form of devotion. It involves placing one's faith in Buddha, the holy teachings, the Dharma, and the noble Sangha, or the community of followers, the community of practitioners. By formally taking refuge, Tibetans express their trust, their commitment to the Buddhist path. Also, as I mentioned, all the tantric traditions have very many practices that involve visualization or visualizing a deity or divine beings, which are done with the intent of establishing a personal, loving, and trusting relationship with the divine. And of course, these deities all represent the highest of the high. They're symbolic representations of the highest of the high, of the divine. And so cultivating a sense of awe and reverence for the divine, this involves recognizing and appreciating the mystery, the beauty that surrounds us, and the power that we see in the universe. So, of course, these practices are incredibly important, and let's just say in general a few things now. One way to achieve this, for example, is to spend time in nature and mindfully observe the intricacies and the beauty that nature evokes, and the wonder and the appreciation for the complexity that we see in the natural world. And of course, in many spiritual traditions, nature is seen as God's creation or a direct expression of the divine. So we think of nature as a manifestation of the divine, and reflecting on the majesty and the beauty of nature can inspire a sense of humility and awe. And of course, you have to slow down and learn to smell the roses. You have to take the time. So I suggest that you pause frequently and witness the vastness of the sky and the complexity of our natural ecosystems and the power of the many natural forces that we see around us, in weather, for example. I think you'll discover that if you pay close attention to nature, that it will help you feel more connected to the divine. Similarly, engaging with art is also a powerful way to evoke feelings of awe and inspiration. It could be music, the visual arts, or literature, dance, and many forms of art, of course, are divinely inspired and can be very inspirational. Also, meditation can help quiet the mind and create a space for contemplation and reflection and meditation on the divine. Perhaps I should also mention that pilgrimage to sacred places and visiting sacred spaces is also a powerful way to connect with the divine and experience a sense of awe and wonder and develop reverence for the divine. Let's see, a couple of videos ago I mentioned the importance of study, and I said that it's one of the fundamental cornerstones of a spiritual practice, that reading and studying sacred texts and hagiographies is a way of expanding our understanding, of learning about deeper spiritual truths, and of course it inspires insights into the nature of the divine. It cultivates wisdom and inspires a sense of awe and reverence for the divine. It increases our sense of faith in the divine. Now, I want you to understand that daily spiritual practices, devotional practices, they have the power to fundamentally transform your life in very profound and meaningful ways. These practices deepen our connection with the divine. They strengthen our sense of inner peace and help us cultivate inner qualities that are so important, such as love and gratitude and kindness and compassion, and many of the other holy virtues, such as patience and humility. I keep saying over and over again, these spiritual practices tend to go hand in hand, are mutually reinforcing and supporting. They're like, they form a symbiotic relationship with one another, and as your spiritual practice matures over time, you'll see how these various practices can operate in concert with one another. So daily practice is just so important. It's so critically important because it's how we stay connected with our highest self and the divine. As you align your life with higher principles and the holy virtues, then you'll notice how your actions and your thoughts and your emotional reactions become more purposeful and fulfilling over time. And I've said it before, but it bears repeating. You should find a spiritual practice that resonates with you, that is most meaningful for you. Devotion is about establishing and building a personal relationship with the divine, a personal connection with the divine. And remember that each day's practice deepens that connection, that bond. And just like any relationship, the more attention that you give it and the more care that you give it, the stronger it will grow over time. And as I said before, spiritual practices tend to work together. For example, daily devotional practices strengthen the three fundamental cornerstones of a spiritual practice that I've talked about in a previous video. They work together to help establish a solid foundation for a spiritual path, and I think you should think of daily spiritual practices then as the very foundation for your spiritual journey. And the stronger that foundation becomes then, the more you'll be able to grow and make personal progress on the path, and the deeper your connection will become to the divine. So in closing, let me say that devotional practices open the heart and they foster love both for the divine and for others. And as we connect with higher principles such as love and compassion and kindness, these positive qualities begin to overflow and fill every corner of our lives. And your relationships will improve. You'll find that your interactions become more compassionate and meaningful. And you'll develop a deeper sense of interconnectedness with all things and all beings. Well, thanks for watching. Please support the channel by subscribing. Hit the like button if you like the video. And be sure to tell your friends about us. Next time I plan to discuss surrendering the self to the divine. It's also a very, very powerful spiritual practice that you'll find in traditions around the world. Little kids are running. So many happy people here in the park today. It's just been a joy to sit here with you today. So thanks again. We'll see you next time right here on Journey of Self-Awareness. In the meantime, stay mindful, pay attention, and relax. Bye-bye.